I'll cut this out, but I forgot what your rating was for it.
Same as yours.
Okay, I might not cut it out. That was hilarious. I didn't even know he directed Michael, which is in theaters right meow. I'm Brian, here for a review of Training Day with Brad.
Yep.
Hold on. I hope everyone saw the video version of that. To cover a little business, I was looking at the wrong external hard drive when I collected all the podcast episodes and movies we've done, and I forgot we skipped over Hedda. Don't think it changes much, potentially, but does anyone think Hedda was better than Howl's Moving Castle? No?
No.
Okay, then it remains for the time being still a Michael J. Fox movie. Just wanted to cover all the bases. Speaking of Training Day, it was released on October 5th, 2001. I forgot to look up the budget. The box office was $104,876,233. Directed by Antoine Fuqua, who directed Michael, which genuinely surprised me, considering what everyone's been saying about it. Nothing crazy, but and written by David Ayer with Denzel Washington, Ethan Hawke, and why are they so? They're not even on the front page. I thought Eva Mendes would have been part of the trio at the top, but we're gonna jump into the 420 reviews. Anyone not familiar? It's a poetic 20-word review with 4 lines per line. 4 words per line. Almost did it again. To just go from the 4 to get to that dope 20. Add yours by going over to movieseurope.com, joining one of the free tiers, or going over the Discord and dropping it when we ask for it. But Milan, you want to go first?
Yes. All right. My 420 for Training Day. Is this morally right? That is the question. He does some stuff that makes me question. The law is untrustworthy, question mark.
I've got rookie cop rides along, veteran cop gray morals, power reveals dark corruption. You'll all be in Pelican Bay without me.
Mine is kind of a little different. Make me hate Denzel, then like him again, then hate him again, then scared of him. The ACAB system working. But yeah, this felt, before we started recording, Brad very fairly said he couldn't believe I hadn't seen this before, which is extremely fair. I've seen a lot of clips, knew quite a few behind the scenes little tidbits, but even with the clips I'd seen, I was very surprised how things went, how they concluded, who showed up. But what did you all think of Training Day?
Sure. I think it's a solid Denzel film. It shows, it's filmed in LA, and it shows what like corruption does, like big city cops, but it does it in a way that's very entertaining, I would say. They also did a really good job mixing in a lot of celebrities and a lot of like famous people within this movie too.
Yes.
Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, what's his name? Terry Crews. Forgot what Hector's name is from that always plays Hector in every movie he's ever played in.
Oh, he's even been in Crank, and I think he joked like his last 5 characters were Hector. Literally watching this movie, I thought of his best line of that movie. What do you mean, Ding? What do you mean, Ding?
Because I think there's only like 1 or 2 movies that he's played that it wasn't Hector, or wasn't like his nickname wasn't Hector in the movie. So I mean, it's a really solid film. I think it's on a lot of people's like top 100 lists of movies too, which is kind of nice. So yeah, solid film.
Can see why.
So I mean, this is one of those films that I grew up on. So it's something that I had already seen a million times before, we decided to review it for this podcast. So, all in all, I would say it's a good film. The plot is absolutely terrible in itself if you actually like sit down and think about the plot, but the acting and what they bring to the characters is what makes it work. Like, I feel like without Denzel and the way that he portrayed his character and everything else, goodness, I already forgot the other actor's name. But without like the way that they portrayed it, I don't think that the plot could have been pulled off because the plot was so weak. It just realistically was very weak, in my opinion, at least. So I think it just speaks to the strength of the presence of the actors that they were still able to pull off something that felt like a great film, despite the weaknesses that existed with the plot. There's a couple of things about it. So, this film culturally, it feels very similar to a lot of things that were coming out around that time, while also being a little elevated because it felt more, how do I put it? It felt like something that was going to be more accessible to everyone, rather than it just being something that was meant and accessible to my community, something that was going to be enjoyed by, people from my community. Because, y'all made a comment about how this film had a lot of famous people. We brought up like Snoop Dogg and things like that. And my first thought was like, yeah, but around this time, most of the movies had all those people in it. And then I clicked in my head and I was like, yeah, but that's probably not something that they were watching. This was the big film that kind of stepped outside of that, and everybody saw and everybody was talking about, and not just my neighborhood. So I think that there was a lot of, I think that's also a reason why so many people gravitate towards it, because it did mean a lot as far as like really showing what could be done in film about the Black community and like telling those stories. So you also have to, or at least I also have to appreciate that.
Do you think, because I'm not off the top of my head, I'm not guessing all the films in context that you're saying were coming around at the same time or coming out at the same time? Is it the addition of the outsider's perspective or the rookie perspective of Ethan Hawke's character that may have brought more people to see it?
I definitely think that's part of it, because a lot of, popular Black films at that time, they didn't really have that other element to it. Like the first one that kind of came to mind for me was Baby Boy. I think that came out in the same year, maybe as Training Day. And that movie was, is something that most people like, oh yeah, that was a great movie. I like look back on it and all this other stuff. But most people outside of my community actually have not heard of it or watched it, despite the fact that it's also something that we would probably maybe not put up there with Training Day, but again, had a good number of famous people in it. It was something that was like talked about big time back then during that same year, but obviously they were on different platforms, levels, however you want to look at that, as far as like who was watching it.
In terms of like the spread that they had and across movie watchers.
Now, there were different films. I want to say that they were different films. I'm not saying that these are the same at all. These are completely different films.
I mean, but to your point, I think literally 2 or 3 weeks ago on Threads, I saw some posts from because it's relevant, an African-American woman saying, white people only, what are majority Black starring films that you love? And then other people were like, the lack of seeing Baby Boy and a few other films like is startling to me from non-white people responding. And I just Googled it. I mean, like Tyrese Gibson, Ving Rhames, Snoop Dogg, Taraji P. Henson, just on the first page. Like, that's insane. And it's a Criterion Collection movie? Ooh.
It's a good movie.
I believe you. I want to see it now. I want to watch that. Yes. I mean, yeah, it is a crime that I haven't seen this. I said before recording, I've got at least 100 movies that I've purchased on digital on sale that I still haven't seen. This was one of them. And I'm sure there's plenty of classics that I've just taken too long to watch. But the camera movement had an energy I wasn't expecting. I've seen certain clips like King Kong Ain't Got Shit on Me. The cinema on display, the elements early that come back extraordinarily unexpectedly later, at least for me. This was a movie where it knocked me on my ass, and I wondered, looking from the outside, that the story that was taking place, just curious how, what's the balance between genuine and Hollywood? You know what I mean? Because I'm sure it's easy. It could be easy for somebody not familiar to just be like, oh, this is what the reality is. But, wow, there was a lot of like tension. And I mean, even Denzel Washington's character is a roller coaster in himself. Of like, the first scene is with him in it, just felt like the most, oh, this guy just likes fucking with people and like always keeping everyone guessing by seeming erratic, but in a very controlled way, if that makes sense. But yeah, it was fucking amazing. Before we get into ratings, is there any Bradley Cooper's trivia? Our Bradley Cooper is much sexier than the real thing.
So a couple things. Obviously, with a movie this old, there's been a lot of interviews and stuff like that too. So there's a lot of information surrounding this movie. But this is actually one of Denzel's frequently listed characters that he's ever played. He got to do a lot of ad-libbing and a lot of kind of like off-the-cuff type of things. So there's a lot of scenes in this movie that were not in the script. And the whole monologue at the end was not in the script. There was something, what was it? There was something that he said that Ethan Hawke repeated back to him at the end of the movie. I don't remember what the line was, but that like stuff, both of those lines were ad-libbed. So there's a lot of like just character development that Denzel was able to bring into this movie that wasn't on paper, which is kind of nice. Ethan Hawke, which is the rookie cop, he was actually like the third or fourth pick for this movie. and this is going to surprise you, the first one was Tobey Maguire, which I think would have been really probably not my first choice. The second choice was actually Eminem. So I think that would have been interesting. But then Eminem went on to do 8 Mile.
Yeah, that would have.
But do you realize how many people? See, here's the thing: if that had been Eminem, it would have not crossed over the threshold in the way I was just talking about before. We would have all flocked out to see it, but it would have not hit in the same way. So I'm for that reason, I'm happy that they went with the choice that they did. Oh, but man, would I've gone to see that with Eminem?
Yeah, I don't know if I could believe Eminem, with all due respect, because I love a lot of his acting choices. The naivete necessary, or the I don't know if this is the line you're thinking of, but according to Google, it just can't be like this. It doesn't sound.
No,
I just watched it. It doesn't sound impactful enough.
No, I think I'm trying to remember. Do you want to go to prison or do you want to go home?
Oh, let me go home. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was said to in one of the earlier scenes that was ad libbed, and then Ethan Hawke says it back to him at the end of the movie, and I'm trying to remember if that was the line or not, but it's the one that's jumping out to me out of my head.
Let me go home is what Denzel was saying near the end, and in the beginning he was telling Ethan Hawke in the car when they're in the middle of the intersection, you can go home right now, or something like that.
Yeah, maybe if I get a chance when we're doing this, I'll try and find it real quick. But so a lot of that stuff just being ad-libbed was really cool. And then Denzel didn't do any ride-alongs with any police officers to do this movie, but he did go through like different communities and was able to gain information by talking to people of kind of like more of the, I don't want to say gangster, because I think that's kind of like, we're probably stereotyping a little bit too much, but like inner city areas that were more poverty-stricken neighborhoods, and was able to talk to them of how they interact with police to kind of get their perspective on things. So he was able to add stuff like that into his character, which I thought was pretty cool, because there's a lot of scenes in this movie that, like you were mentioning, that are very tense. Just kind of how he operates as a police officer in that morally gray area, kind of how he trained Ethan Hawke in this movie, and then also just how he interacted with different lines and stuff like that, how he interacted with different members of the community. I think one interacting with a woman was like, all that toast and jelly or something like that.
All that toast or all that jelly, no toast.
Yeah, something like that. And just like the way he like made different comments or remarks to the community. So that was it.
I think I just found the quote. It was, "This today is indeed training day, motherfucker." I can't find it.
I don't think it
I did find that the budget was $45 million though.
Yeah, that was all I got. A lot of cool like letting Denzel Washington do Denzel Washington things, which made this movie so much better. Even like the monologue at the end, which is iconic movie culture, completely ad-libbed off the cuff, which was crazy.
Yeah, and the reason this one came to mind for the podcast was I saw, and I told you all about this, I saw a reel from some podcast, I forget what it is, I'll try to find an ad at the end, that went through all the improvs, or a lot of the improvs that Denzel Washington did, and one of them was from his first scene, slight spoilers, but where Ethan Hawke said that his training officer was a woman, and it was supposed to be some short line like, "Oh, did you ever sleep with her?" And then that was it. And then he went on a whole like twisting the knife and like, "You got a dick, don't you?" And even though he was like, "I have a wife," it's kind of crazy. The other thing I know behind the scenes that was kind of changed on the days was Terry Crews's involvement in the film, because he was a bodyguard for or security on the set. Terry Crews being Terry Crews, being the most impressive physically on the set. And he said personally he was always willing to serve the film. Antoine Fuqua asked him if he wanted to be in shots, and he never actually got paid for a day of work for being on the film, but he got in the most memorable scenes at the end by just be like ready and willing to, as he said, serve in any way that he could. And I loved his rooftop over the shoulder shot where he's clapping at the birds, which I don't think gives anything away, spoilerish, in the movie. But no surprise here. But my rating on the dope scale is a mushroom, and as you two are sick of me saying, and you always tell me, "Shut the fuck up, stop." Everybody knows this. You don't want me to repeat it. But our Movies Are Dope rating is basically an S to F rating with a wild card, and starting at the S tier would be ayahuasca, mushroom, edible, joint, skunky, and that wild card is Molly for movies that are not good, but boy, could they have been fun. Would you say they're quality? No. So what do y'all rate this classic?
So I would give it a edible mushroom. It's a solid film. It's something that obviously stands the test of time. It's not something that I would typically gravitate towards on my own because of how graphic and violent the themes are and whatnot in it. And it does have a lot of triggering points to it and triggering themes. But even so, it's still a really good film.
What'd you give it, Brian? Mushroom?
I've had a lot of mushrooms this month. That's not a joke.
I'm going to go with mushroom just because this is such a good film for my taste. I've seen this movie probably at least 24 times at this point. The fact that this movie was made in 2001, it's now 2026, 25 years later. And we're still watching this movie. We're still talking about this movie. I think kind of it stands the test of time in the sense of, I don't want to say classics because I don't think it's that old yet, but it's definitely a movie that is familiar in pop culture and familiar in history. Like I said, I've seen this at least 24 times minimum. I own this movie. I think it goes on a lot of people's top 100 lists. So, I mean, I think it's solid.
I think it deserves to be there and deserves to be considered a classic, even if that is early. I mean, a lot of the stuff that Denzel Washington's character says in this film feels so real for today's police force in terms of their justifications for their Blue Lives Matter mentality. And should have said it earlier with my rating, but this is coming from someone who grew up in a police household. Both my parents, parent and step-parent police. My grandfather was chief of police. And to say that just because you live in a police household, I don't think that means you have to ignore the actual facts of how fucked up the system can be in terms of its. We all have to have each other's back, even for morally fucked up things, because we justify it as being a net positive in terms of results or whatever. But yeah, right before we get into spoilers, just to put a pin on what I said earlier, yeah, the mushrooms this month were where they kill you, or they will kill you, Lars and the Real Girl, Christopher's Still, a Michael J. Fox movie, Lee Cronin's The Mummy, The Drama, and now this. And with that, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I thought he died with the community at the end after his King Kong ain't got shit on me. Jake! But there's the whole Vegas thing. What was most striking for both of you on a potentially first watch, or what felt most striking? Because there's so many scenes that are just, they feel like they could be the one iconic thing that everyone talks about, but there's like 7.
I think for me, the scene that always kind of stuck out growing up, and maybe on some levels created some sort of trauma, is, the scene where he forces him to take the drugs, because it's something that, it's constantly kind of drilled into us, growing up, and things like that. So that was probably a big one for me.
Sure. And I mean, that was intense. Not obviously the gun, but stopping in the middle of an intersection, putting his whole career path on the line, lying to him, saying it was just a little bit of weed, some old shit that was probably 2 years old or whatever it was. Like, yeah, not just because of the PCP, but that would fuck up anybody.
Yeah, and then to use that against him later on in the movie when he needed it.
I've been planning this
for me,
all
it's
week.
For me, it was probably the scene where he's playing cards with Smiley and I don't remember what the other guy's name was, the big jacked buff guy, and then Hector. And then for him to get the suspense of him being there, being forced into it, Denzel leaving, them basically pressuring to show his gun, and then them basically holding him hostage in the bathroom, ready to kill him with a shotgun in his mouth or whatever. And then for him to just happen to get lucky because he had his niece's wallet in his pocket. And the only reason they found that was because Hector wanted to take his money before he died. So for me, that scene always kind of sticks out to me as like such a nail biting tension scene of this movie.
100%. I mean, I don't know how this movie did this magic trick, because if I wanted to be a pretentious like movie goer, I could have been like, oh, the wallet will come back. Oh yeah, definitely come back. Like that could be used to get out of some situation later, potentially. But during that whole scene, it was so perfectly structured, and I knew about the King Kong thing, so I knew he got out of it. I was just like, how does he get out of it? What is that? Is it the one bullet that he caught that he like puts it in somehow and then gets out? And yeah, that was a fucking great scene. And the reveal that Denzel Washington's character was God was a masterclass, because
if you pay attention, right as he says, I think it's like it's it's your turn to deal or whatever, you can actually hear like tire marks. You can hear like a tire screeching in the background if you pay attention.
I'll really quickly touch on two other scenes. One was the actually saving of the niece, and then Denzel stepping in and really escalating in a way. And this is the part, and I don't like recognizing this in myself, but especially with the fact that in those situations, even going to jail wouldn't help reform those two because our jail system's so fucked up. I think the Swedish jail system showed that taking a very different approach actually helps reform people and stop them from relapsing in the prison system. And the fact that, well, the crime they were going to do is inexcusable. That has nothing to do. I'm speaking on other things about their like drug addictions and everything, of actually trying to solve those parts. But because, especially probably because the crime is so is an unforgivable crime, him torturing them felt like it was close. I wouldn't go that far, obviously, but it was closer to the Schadenfreude satisfaction of like, yeah, string them up by their toes kind of punishment the darker part of me would want for people who would do something like that. But then everything else is so clearly just for his own edification. But then later shotgunning his friend or the person he's been waiting a decade to take out, and then framing Ethan Hawke and Ethan Hawke turning the shotgun back around on him. And that whole situation is a whole other clusterfuck of explosives, so to speak, that could have gone down very horribly. So those were two others that really hit.
And then at the end, when the community realizes that they now have the upper hand over Denzel Washington's character, I gotta look up what it is, Alonzo, so I can stop saying Denzel, so I can actually say his character's name in this movie. But once the community realized they had the upper hand on Alonzo, and he needed them more than they needed him in that situation, and they started turning on him, and they only left the handful of people there to do whatever it is they ended up going to do, because the movie panned away from that. But I think that was also kind of like a powerful thing too, of like him poking the community this whole time and like feeling powerful that that he's a cop and stuff like that, and framing people and stuff like that, everything that he does, to then have it turn around at the end.
Yeah, because that too, like we don't see that whole community do anything in the film that's bad. We can all guess like if they're actually involved in anything, but him just being there, I can imagine feels like living in a house and one of the occupants is a scorpion that you can't get rid of. And it's just like, okay, will this scorpion kill me in my sleep one of these days? Or like always having that fear of having him, but having his wife turn away with this kid at the end too, that was big. And I wonder what her life how much of it is performative out of fear.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she's entirely innocent. I mean, I think she might have been like kind of wrapped into it and kind of forced into it, but at the same time she was also complicit because she also kind of went along with it and didn't buck it at any chance.
Yeah, I do want to push back on that. Just even channeling, well, two things. One, the man or the bear argument, because in her position, I mean, that whole community couldn't stand up to him for reasons that I really understand. If she's the person he locks his eyes on, then she's in more danger because she's even more centered in his crosshairs if she tries to push back at all. And I remember this is the only quote that's ever been framed this way, but I remember Michelle Rodriguez was kind of talking about her relationship with Vin Diesel, and they're friends now. So she was saying it in a very political way. But she was saying sometimes when you're growing up, you don't date the pretty boy, you date the gangster who can protect you or something. Like that's the smart call. She was putting it that way. So I could definitely see, like, Eva Mendes is not hurting anybody. And I could totally see this situation being one of survival for her, even if it doesn't explicitly show her outside of the gunfight with her son in the building, in the unit, explicitly show her enjoying any part of his business. Or no, sorry, not explicitly showing her feeling stressed, like on the surface. If I was in her position, I wouldn't have tried to set boundaries with him, with how dangerous he is with a stranger that he meets on the first day.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the whole gunfight scene.
That was
with Eva Mendes and the kid.
And the fact that he has a shotgun under the bed, like that's how psychotic he is. Like,
I'm not sure if I would say psychotic. I mean, that was a pretty normal thing, especially back then. It actually still might be.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I was thinking of it from his position of like he knows he's so dangerous to everyone else that he assumes at any moment he could be invaded and be a threat for his life.
No, that was just a normal thing for somebody in those communities.
I know it never. Well, it actually did. Never mind. During this movie, it was making me think a lot of real life stories of no-knock warrants that went understandably wrong because they just bust in and don't say police, or in all the commotion, who know, like if I'm waking up in the middle of the night and I have a gun to protect myself, I'm not going to hear police, police. I'm going to hear and like a bunch of people running in and panic and try to defend myself.
I live in Texas, so
I don't know what angle that means. Is it just everybody has a gun, or they can't do no-knock warrants, or?
I mean, well, yeah, because we have that safety, being able to protect ourselves on our property. If somebody comes onto our property.
Well, I don't know if
what is it called, stand your ground? Because I think it's Florida and Texas that both have that, or something, right? Stand your ground.
Let's see.
And then I know Wisconsin had a slightly different one. Was it like they called it like the castle law or something like that, where if somebody's breaking into your house, you could defend yourself and stuff like that, or if they were like making an immediate threat towards your property, that you could defend yourself. But I think Florida and Texas, I think, are a little bit more loosey-goosey.
It's ridiculous. And yes, most people, I guess, probably have guns here.
Okay, so in Texas, though, they do have no-knock warrants. So I'm just saying this with the Google AI thing, so take it all with grace.
Let's say, I don't trust anything coming from the Google AI.
Yeah, but considering they do exist, it's saying stand your ground laws and no-knock warrants can create a legal conflict where residents may believe they are acting in self-defense against intruders while police are executing a legal unannounced entry. There's been a lot of discussion, especially with instances that have made headlines of saying, yeah, no-knock warrants just shouldn't exist because it does cause a panic moment where things can go extraordinarily wrong. But, and then even if you do have stand your ground laws, like imagine not that it would be common, hopefully, but imagine every time someone busts in your door, you had to, just to make sure for that 1 out of 100 chance or whatever, just be like, is this a no-knock warrant?
Yeah, see, that's the problem, though. Texans won't do that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't think anyone would. I wouldn't. I don't even own a gun, but if I did, or in any situation, if someone just busted in and wasn't saying police, and then I went down a whole other side tangent of like, what if people just invaded a house and said, police, 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 and they're not police? And it's just like, those valuable first few seconds could put you at a real disadvantage. Yeah, and then the holy trinity of guys drinking at the place. Yeah, I wouldn't. Again, I have no knowledge of any of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if all of this was real. I do know that in Googling the information for the beginning, it said it was based on a real story somewhat, but I didn't have the time to dive into that too deep.
Yeah, I feel like it's like maybe slightly exaggerated, but I think that part of why this film resonated with so many people is because of how relatable and real it felt, even if it was just a bit exaggerated for entertainment value.
And even the scene that's in our background, which is the scene where he's in the intersection pressuring Ethan Hawke's character to smoke for the first time, like that resonates and feels like there are certain states or areas that literally teach their police officers not to de-escalate, but teaches them that they're going to war, which causes a higher number of, abuse of power by police officers, whatever that term is.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of studies done, but like SWAT units are basically just like militias and stuff like that, and they're overpowered. They have tanks and stuff like that. Some police forces have tanks. Why would a police force need a tank, kind of thing? There's a lot of studies and a lot of documentaries done.
We will be doing Godzilla -1 next time. But even to your point of police departments being overpowered, Rebel Ridge, which is an amazing film, also touches on that because they have a police department that seizes cash under suspicion of drug charges, and then they arm themselves to the teeth, and there are real police departments that have, with some of that money, have bought margarita machines for fundraisers, quote unquote. It's also scary how...
Oh, yeah, I've seen that movie. Yeah, it's a good movie.
it's also scary to think how logical their thinking seems, like how not logical, how you could easily see how they would get to that conclusion, even if holistically it's wrong, like provably wrong, of just people saying, oh, you need to let little things slide so you can take the big fish down, or you have to take certain measures because in this line of work, the good guys die first because they take longer. And
I mean, it kind of goes back to that old phrase of absolute power corrupts absolutely. Where, I mean, a lot of these cops think they're untouchable, especially in situations like this when you're going into lower income neighborhoods and, you know, able to kind of push your badge around a lot and do a lot of things you shouldn't be doing, and harkens back to that reality that we have now in police forces and stuff like that.
It's the over policing and the history of like redlining, government funding projects to develop exclusively white suburban neighborhoods, and just causing a huge rift between in terms of the development of different communities, and then the how when the whole deck is stacked against you, sometimes the only way, this is what I've heard some people say, feeling of getting out of it is leaning into the more illegal paths to try to survive or thrive. It's just, I mean, even to make a comparison that's not directly connected to this, there was literally when there was a campaign called Be Gay, Do Crime, which was basically propaganda saying gay people do crime more often. There was actually a rise in crime from gay communities because being gay was legal. People who were gay were like, well, if I'm going to get busted for being gay, I might as well do crimes because it's the same thing for me. But I mean, there are solutions to get out of this perpetual faceplant that the country's in, but they're solutions that would be constantly fought against and make harder and harder. I need to talk about the big guy, but progress is slow, and then sometimes just fully goes in reverse as hard as possible. Anything else you want to talk about for Training Day?
Great performance from Denzel Washington. I think that was probably the film that made it to where every older woman in my family just wouldn't stop talking about Denzel.
I mean, if this is the film that did it, I respect all the people even more who said it doesn't matter what the film is. If Denzel's in it, I'm there. Like, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, anything else you want to say, Brad, before we wrap up?
Do you want a quick comparison this one to Still?
Thank you. And I'll cut this out, but I forgot what your rating was for the outro. What was your
rating?
Same as
yours.
Mushroom.
Yeah, Mushroom. Yeah.
Okay, I might not cut it out because that was hilarious. I remembered yours well. Just the same. All right. So for our two comparisons or whatever I was calling them, who thinks Training Day is better than Still, a Michael J. Fox movie? I guess this works for both, since Still, a Michael J. Fox movie was our all-timer as of last week.
I'm going to go with Training Day. I think overall it's going to be the one that has the most lasting power, and it's going to be the one that people are going to use to have discourse around what things were like culturally in that time period. Not that Still doesn't have its other things, but they're both very impactful films.
Yeah, I'm right there with her. I think if we had different categories of, like, I don't know, movies and documentaries, then I think Still would probably remain on top in this case, but I think it's going to remain on top for a lot of documentaries. But I mean, this movie, I've seen this movie, like I said, over 24 times already, and I probably watch this movie every year, maybe 2 years. So it's definitely got lasting power, a lot of staying power, and it's still entertaining to this day. So I don't see how that could how it could not remain Still. Nailed it.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the movies I would put in the category of, and I'm saying this about myself, you'll regret every day you could have watched it, but you didn't. Like, this is a movie that should have just been in my history banks since I bought it. God, this is a great movie. Yeah, it still strikes me as strange that this is the same director who did, I guess it's not too strange for this first thing, but the Equalizer trilogy feels a little different from this. But from what I've been hearing about Michael, that definitely feels weird. I'm like, wow, you did Michael. Okay, good for you. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, so I can't positive or negative on it. But for our all-timer, it is now Training Day, and this movie may be a mushroom, maybe an edibly mushroom, or maybe a mushroom, but no matter what, it is dope because movies are dope. I'm trying to wait for y'all to start making noise so I can be in sync with y'all on the leg, but
bye now.
I'm living in a movie, there's a scene you gotta jump. I got my people at the viewing who all knew me selling tickets. Yeah, they talking about the beauty. I see Scorsese outside saying this isn't cinema. Free man, I ain't doing shit tomorrow, I don't need plans. I'll be kicking it till April off for $3 grand. I don't even need the money, I just need fans.